What's up, everybody? I'm here to talk about video games, mainly the influence of Call of Duty and what it has done to the gaming industry. Now, I'm not going to talk about purely about Call of Duty, just the basic premise of the kind of criticism they have received. Call of Duty has been criticized for being the same old game for the past 6 years, but what makes other games so different than their predecessors? Some of my favorite games from this console generation alone are Infamous, Uncharted, and Little Big Planet. All those games have gotten sequels, but have those sequels really been different from the others? Let's start off with Uncharted. Uncharted is known for its cinematic gameplay. The first one had very brief cinematic moments. Uncharted 2 expanded that by having 15 to 20-second long cinematic moments. And then Uncharted 3 expanded it even further by having a whole level being a cinematic moment. From escaping a burning building, from being by being stranded by a desert. Little Big Planet has also seen significant change in its sequel. Little Big Planet was found under the Play Create Share idea by being able to make and play levels, but Little Big Planet 2 expanded that by being able to make your own games instead of just making levels. Even though Uncharted and Little Big Planet have their games have had significant change to their games, both in depth and just add-ons to it, the concept of their games are still the same. Uncharted is still an action adventure, and Little Big Planet is still a create, play, share game. So why is Call of Duty hated so much for being the same old game? I do agree Modern Warfare 3 was an absolute letdown, but if you look at Modern Warfare 3, it doesn't do a whole lot of change, but it does have some gameplay experiences that have been added onto it. For one, Modern Warfare 3 added a new survival mode to the game, something new to Modern Warfare but not new to the Call of Duty universe. They also added a new classing system, an assault class, a support class, and I forgot what the other class was called. But it was something for casual gamers, something for traditional Call of Duty gamers, and something for more seasoned, experienced Call of Duty gamers. But yet that wasn't enough to make the game feel fresh enough, feel different. Many sequels hold the same ideas but just add or tweak the experience. Even though Uncharted 3 is more superior than Uncharted 2, I enjoyed and loved Uncharted 2 a lot more than Uncharted 3. The same goes for Little Big Planet. Even though Little Big Planet 2 was far more in depth with its creativity, my favorite will always be the original, the first Little Big Planet. Sometimes, but not all the time, we prefer the old school rather than the new school. A lot of sleeper games like Sleeping Dogs and Max Payne are left in the shadows over the mainstream games. Lots of these games that are overlooked are actually very good and have lots of innovation in them. So why would people rather buy a sequel to a game they already know about rather than skipping out a game that's completely new and new to the market? Sleeping Dogs and Max Payne had lots of praise. They got really great scores, but the amount of copies they sold, they didn't really show that. I was one of the people that wanted Sleeping Dogs for a while, but overlooked it for quite a while to save up money for Black Ops 2. I did eventually get Sleeping Dogs, and it was a very great game. It has some ideas compared to Grand Theft Auto, but it has so much different gameplay and the elements that are far better. But why would a game like Sleeping Dogs get so overlooked? Why would people ignore that game? Could it be the way they advertise it? Could it be the release date? Or people just want to spend their money on something else? This is part of the reason why AAA games like Sleeping Dogs are becoming a lot more rare. Not many people buy them. Of course, the two big AAA games in the market are Assassin's Creed and Grand Theft Auto. Those are two great games, but the new games have a hard time competing with the big dogs in the market. However, the little guy isn't always overlooked. The two biggest games last year with small production costs are Journey and The Walking Dead. Two great games with Game of the Year reputation and very creative pieces of work. And yes, they were really successful critically and money-wise. Probably the biggest factor of these successes is that they are $15 to $20 DLC games. Would they have been successful if they were full-fledged on-the-shelf $60 games? Would Sleeping Dogs would have been successful if it was a low-budget $20 game? Okami was a critical success when it came out, but it was a commercial letdown. The game didn't sell well, but the re-release of HD Okami seems to give Okami new life. With a $20 price tag on PSN, Okami has been in the top 10 best-selling PSN games for the past 2 months. You speak with your dollars. When great games like Sleeping Dogs underachieve, then no sequels will be expected. When games like Call of Duty achieve, sequels are highly expected. Call of Duty is like Apple in the video game universe. Same products, just minor modifications. But Apple sells devices from $300 and up. Call of Duty is just a $60 game. And I did mention like games like Uncharted and Little Big Planet and many other games that have significantly better sequels are really just the same game compared to their predecessors, just a little tweaked or in depth. Lots of people say they want change or innovation. Some games do that, but people end up ignoring the game or bash on the game. Resident Evil 6 was a game that didn't only give Resident Evil a new gameplay experience, but it gave it a new identity. Yes, Resident Evil 6 tried to be different and the gameplay was really great, but was less about the survival horror and more about the action. You can say that action is influenced by games like Call of Duty. After all, Capcom has noticed that Western games like Call of Duty and Uncharted have become popular for their action, so why not implement those concepts onto your game? Well, many people loved and or hated that idea. I think it's best to stick with your identity of the game, which is a survival horror. Like I said before, and I say it again, many sequels are usually the same thing. However, most games take their time. Call of Duty doesn't. And yes, it is true that it is really the same old game, but you can't have a first-person military shooter be a puzzler the next day. However, if they do implement something like a Bioshock or a Half-Life, then that might be interesting. Call of Duty should keep their identity as a first-person military shooter. And yes, the game is repetitive, but that's the word. First-person military shooter. Or in Half-Life and Bioshock, those are first-person action-adventure shooters. So those games have a better pacing and variety. Despite what I said, at the end of the day, we speak with our dollars. The more Call of Duty games we buy, the more they make. Complaining about the game makes no difference if the game has already been bought. I consider Call of Duty a good game. Not a great game, but just good. But it doesn't seem Call of Duty is losing any steam. But I predict sometime by the next console generation, Call of Duty will slowly diminish, depending if they do some random idea, ridiculous idea like a Call of Duty in space. Oh yeah, I think that might come out soon. Well, that's all folks. Thanks for watching and have a nice day.